Taiwan is originally the only country with the legitimacy of Chinese rule. However, with the establishment of the People's Republic of China, it became a situation that denied the legitimacy of each other as a country. After the Civil War, China was also considering a military invasion of Taiwan. But the Korean War, which broke out June 25, 1950, was forced to devote troops. So it was also because the Republic was just established in 1949. So if things get bigger and end with South Korea's victory, it may have to fight a war on both Taiwan and the Korean Peninsula. At President Park Geun-hye's suggestion, the remains of the Chinese army were returned to South Korea. Meanwhile, it was invading Tibet and also intervening in the First Indochina War by sending military aid or military advisors from the Democratic Republic of Vietnam. In 1949, Hiroshi Yamamoto conducted operational guidance for Morning Dow Jones as a military advisor to the Republic of China in Japan under U.S. military occupation. Communism has been spreading in Japan since the 1920s, so it was necessary to stand Taiwan from Japan's point of view. Due to the Korean War, Truman withdrew the statement of Taiwan's non-interference issued in January 1949, the same year, and dispatched the 7th Fleet in the name of neutralizing the Taiwan Strait in June of the same year. The Communist Party and the Kuomintang have been a terrible war which tens of millions of people risked their lives to each other, and millions gave their lives to each other's families, and they have been separated for more than 70 years. Also, in the case of Taiwanese islanders, Japan has been colonized since 1900, so it can be said that they have lived separately from the mainland for almost 100 or 200 years and more. The Chinese army, which was in a hurry to defend the mainland, abandoned the Korean Peninsula despite Kim Il-sung's request after the Korean War and early finished. Conversely, in September 1954, the People's Liberation Army bombarded the Republic of China's forces in Golden Gate Island and called it the Usanpo Battle. In December of the same year, Eisenhower, who became President of the United States under criticism of the Truman regime's public policy, signed the U.S.-China Mutual Defense Treaty. However, the following year, in January 1955, the Liberation Army attacked Ilgwangsan Island in Jeolgang Province and succeeded in capturing the land. A poll conducted by Taiwan's think tank Taiwan's Foundation on August 10, 2011 found that public relations were 38% independent and 50% supported, only 47%. Doctors among the public also go to war for the defense of Taiwan, where tensions are rising. 28 points and 3 might go to the battlefield. 16% said they would not go to the battlefield. In terms of diplomacy, 75% of those who like it, 83% of those who like Japan, and 60% of those who like China. Nearly 80% wanted to establish formal diplomatic relations with the United States or Japan. The Chinese Communist Party thought that the isolated Taiwan would eventually rely on China. But the expectations were wrong and exchanges with Japan became more active. In this year's tour by the Japan to Taiwan Exchange Association, the answer that Taiwan's favorite country is Japan reached 6%, but China was only 5%. The official language is the national language of the Republic of China, which is a kind of Chinese, and it is different from the common language of Chinese in mainland China, but it is basically common. However, the biggest difference between the common language and the Republic of China is in Chinese characters, where Chinese characters are used in China, while traditional Chinese characters are used in Taiwan. Also, most spoken languages in Taiwan are actually Taiwanese and Taiwanese. In addition, the islands belonging to Fujian province are also called Gunma district, distinguishing them from Taiwan as a region or consultation. Taiwan has been inhabited by native Malay Polynesian origin since ancient times, but the Han people began to come from mainland China around the 12th century, and at the end of the 13th century, the origin Sejo division. The King Inspector was installed on the southwestern Penghu Island. On the island of Taiwan, there is a nickname called Formosa. This is the Portuguese word meaning beautiful, and it is said that it comes from the Dutch navigational history of a Portuguese ship that first passed off the coast of Taiwan in the middle 16th century and was moved by its beauty and called it the beautiful island of Formosa a year later. It wasn't an official envoy, but about the Taiwan incident, the indigenous people were envoys in the Alpine countries and the third general of the Edo shogunate Tokugawa Ieyasu. In fact, the Edo shogun during the Imjin War had a plan to conquer Taiwan as well. After the Oriental Loom, we will switch to an offensive policy. Before the 16th century, the island of Taiwan was inhabited by the liberated indigenous people, but a unified culture was not created, and there was only a local government called the Soybean Kingdom in the south. In 1961, Jeong Seung-gung drove out of the Netherlands, which was colonizing Taiwan at the time, and established the first Han-Chinese regime in Taiwanese history. However, although the political regime was subdued by neighboring countries in just 20 years in 1983, the track record of laying the foundation for Taiwan's development occupies a very high social status as a national hero in Taiwan today. The following year, when the political regime collapsed in 2000, Kang Hee-jae took measures to the Taiwan Yeongju Society and made Taiwan a territory of the Qing dynasty. But he treated Taiwan as a sovereign and did not rule effectively. But after that, many of the territory or cantons people moved to Taiwan. In the first half of the 17th century, Portugal, Spain, the Netherlands, etc. were allowed and Taiwan was built as a settlement, and many style buildings representing the country of Christian churches were built. The resource-rich island of Taiwan was developed under the influence of the 17th century age of the Great Sea, and civilization developed especially by introducing Western culture centered on the Netherlands. The Qing dynasty of the Manchu people made an important conquest and annexed Taiwan into the Qing dynasty in 1890. Japan won the Qing dynasty in the Youth War, and as a result, the Treaty of Shimonoseki was signed and became Japan's territory. Taiwan was the first colony of Japan, and Shirin or Japanese-style wooden architecture began to be built. At that time, Japan established the Governor-General of Bar Island to mainland Taiwan and the mainland level and carry out state-of-the-art infrastructure maintenance. At this time, the total population of Taiwan was about 3 million, of which the Kaina people were about 2.5 million, and the indigenous people were about 450,000. From then on, due to Japan's colonial policy, the traffic between mainland China and Taiwan begins to decrease. At the end of World War II in 1945, Japan surrendered to the United States and the Republic of China, and Taiwan came under the rule of the national government of the Republic of China. The Republic of China, in its 1943 Cairo Declaration, said Taiwan as a land to be returned by Japan to the Republic of China, which was torn by the Qing dynasty. The Republic of China dissolved the Governor-General of Taiwan and combined the island of Taiwan and the Penghu Island to incorporate them into the Republic of China as the province of Taiwan. This is called Taiwan Liberation, and on February 28, 1947. In the wake of a clash between Taiwanese residents and Kwanhan, martial law was enacted in Taipei City, and the Kuomintang Army or Kwanhan was purchased by the residents. In response to U.S. protests, Chiang Kai-shek resigned his resignation and appointed his eldest son, Chiang Kyung-gu, as the chairman of the Taiwan Affairs Committee of the Chinese National Party. On May 22, 1949, martial law was declared throughout Taiwan. This martial law was finally lifted only in July 1987, the end of the Chang Dong-guk regime, and ironically, we can see that pre-democracy, martial law, or dictatorship is maintained in almost all emerging powers. In the second half of the 20th century, Taiwan experienced rapid economic growth and industrialization, and is now a developed country. It developed into a party democracy in the 1980s or early 90s in the Western Universal Suffrage. It can be said that it is an ultra-highly advanced human development country with the world's 90th largest economy. It ranked second highest in the Asia-Pacific region after Singapore. Taiwan's Gender Inequality Index also ranked 8 out of 161 countries and is the leading country in Asia. Taiwan's GDP was 772 billion in 2011, and Taiwan's per capita GDP surpassed $30,000 in 2007 and ranked 22nd and $34,000 in 2009, surpassing Japan and South Korea for the first time. The top 29 richest countries are the 90th richest countries in the world for Taiwan. In 2011, Taiwan's nominal GDP per capita was $32,000, up $4,621 from the previous year. In terms of economic size, Taiwan's GDP is expected to reach $824 billion in 2012. After 19 years of overtaking Korea for the first time in 2003, not only will it subdue Korea again, but it will also surpass Japan and Italy for the first time in history. In 2020, Taiwan's per capita GDP surpassed Japan to become the leader in East Asia for the first time. If you look at the industry during the Japanese colonial period, it was actually a food supply base in Japan, which was more important than Joseon. These are industries that store food for a long time and reproduce it for other purposes more deliciously. The government of the Republic of China has made Taiwan a base for the air defense continent. In particular, Japan's subcontracting industry using the connection with Japan is popular or developing. Also, during the Vietnam War, the United States will develop by sourcing strategic materials from Taiwan. This is called the Miracle of Taiwan. It is a similar structure to the one where Japan became a source of supplies in the Korean Peninsula War. Since then, the main exporters have moved from Japan to the United States. This is the situation that has a similar impact to the production of semiconductors now. However, among state-owned companies such as Chinese Steel and Taiwan Shipbuilding and Taiwan Oil, the chemical industry did not receive strong international competitiveness, and the development of the semiconductor industry conducted by Taiwanese and Chinese to Americans with the cooperation of engineers was a great success, resulting in the birth of semi-Shinawi MC, etc. In the 1980s, the development of the electronic industry was also rippled to small and medium-sized enterprises, and the share of computer motherboards became the best, and the crisis of the Asian company was also great. Therefore, the fact that there are many small and medium-sized enterprises is similar to Japan's, and it is different from the government-led industrial policy or the Jebel-centered Korea. In Taiwan, the more competent people are, the more they aim for startup and give vitality and softness to the economy. In addition, the global strategy of using the global network thanks to the network with the environment is also a unique strength of the Republic of China. The intermediary strategy of receiving orders from the US or Japan and outsourcing to the People's Republic of China or Vietnam also uses this current network. In 2016, Taiwan was the world's 18th largest exporter with imports ranked 18th in the world. In the World Competitiveness Ranking, it is ranked 14th in the overall ranking, 30th in technology, and 4th in innovation, and in the World Digital Conference Competitiveness Ranking, Taiwan ranks 8th in the overall ranking. It is rapidly emerging as a base for R&D in the development competition of AI in the world. US board gear, Microsoft has set up a research and development center for artificial intelligence in downtown Taipei since January 10, 2018. Google was acquires HT's Pixel development team and makes Taipei the largest engineering hub for Google's Asia-Pacific region. NVIDIA and the Ministry of Science and Technology partnered to aim to improve individual abilities in artificial intelligence in 2018. Qualcomm, a semiconductor company, has established a public manufacturing process test center, multimedia R&D center. In the latest World Competitiveness Yearbook 2013 edition, Taiwan is finally ranked 6th in the world. In the latest 2012 edition of the Economic Freedom Index, Taiwan ranks 6th in the world. Taiwan is also ranked 16th in the world in global countries since 2018. The fact that war is at risk means that it is not an obstacle to business competition. The average monthly wage for PPP-based Taiwanese commercial workers in 2011 was $8,104, which is comparable to that of Western and Northern Europe. It is not true that workers in Taiwan are less than that. The average annual salary for Japanese workers in Taiwan in 2021 is $65,000, roughly the same as Denmark, ranking 5th in terms of OECD. In the report of the World Wealth of Alliance, an international insurance company, the Taiwanese people were ranked 5th richest in the world. According to the Allianz Global Wealth Report 2023, Taiwanese people net financial assets per capita was 140,000 euros, ranking 5th in the world and 2nd in Asia. Taiwan ranked 3rd highest among the world's 15th largest country after Asia. Hong Kong, Singapore, and 10th in the world, and Taiwan's assets per adult were $290,000, much higher than Japan's $240,000. You can see that Japan has higher assets than that even though these savings are a famous country. Major listed companies in Taiwan include TSMC, Large and Small Stone, China Electronics, China Steel, and MediaTek. Foxconn has about 1.2 million employees, and it is an ASUS gateway brand that develops and sells computer components and motherboards. It is a computer maker, BenQ, the world's largest semiconductor manufacturer of Gigabyte, that sells peripheral devices including Realtek mainboard. You can see that most of the brands we know well are in Taiwan. Income will increase due to economic development, and the number of Taiwanese travelers will exceed 10 million in 2012, and in 2019, 17 million people will do overseas health. Compared to the population, the overseas departure rate is 72%, so it can be said that they travel abroad a lot. The number of Taiwanese visiting Japan was 4.75 million in 2018. The third after China's 8 million and South Korea's 7.5 million. It is estimated that 1 in 5 people in a million people visit Japan every year. Not long ago, even during the Great East Japan earthquake in Japan, the relationship between the two is so close that the Taiwanese government and the whole people gave to Japan more than 3 trillion won. If the People's Republic of China unilaterally invade Taiwan, Japan is expected to persuade the United States to go to war. It is expected to play that role enough to become a U.S. logistics base, which is expected to be a U.S. reinforcement military. The Republic of China Army is a regular army and owns about 100,000 people in the Army, about 40,000 in the Navy, and about 35,000 in the Air Force. The heavy tank consists of about 750 built-up ships, 230 submarines, Daechang operation, and 520 operational planes. All the defense budget from equipment is that China is overwhelming Taiwan. Taiwan also has asymmetrical power, and it is actively purchasing and developing long-range strike weapons. This is calculated that in case of emergency, it can bring chaos to China through a long-distance road and take advantage of it to get support from friendly countries such as the United States, Japan, and Korea. In 2020, Taiwan opened an air-to-surface missile in the United States, and the Mobility Security System passed a plan to sell its cruise missile to Taiwan. The Chinese army, on the other side, has 800,000 troops in the army, 135,000 in the Navy, and 398,000 in the Air Force. China's military spending was $160 billion in 2012, second in the world after the US, up 175% over a decade. On the contrary, Taiwan is one of the richest countries in the world. Until recently, defense spending has not increased much. But due to the election of the new president, defense spending is expected to increase. All of these missiles equipped by the Taiwanese military are low use, and it is difficult to completely exclude the attack of ballistic missiles without the third air force of a defense system that can protect in terms of missiles such as SAR that copes with high altitude. Therefore, the US is in desperate need of help in this area. I would be happy if you could know a little bit about your Taiwan, not Taiwan, which was only a tourist destination that we didn't know about. Thank you to everyone who watched it until the end. And please support us by liking and subscribing to comment. Then I'll see you the next video. Thank you.